Hello, and welcome to our 7th session of Ed Talks, quick session talks that will focus on economic development and recovery for our regional business. Thank you all for attending today. The Rockford Area Economic Development Council has recognized and reacted to serve our region in the best way we can to support our community efforts to recover, respond, and reimagine how our local business and manufacturers can successfully re-engage our economy. Please take time to reference the RAEDC website for additional reopen support and direction. As we look to the future, we at the RAEDC, in collaboration with the Rockford University and the Peary School of Business, have been hosting frequent Ed Talks. These conversations will focus on economic development issues we face amid this pandemic, with the purpose to provide expert guidance on how to adapt and overcome those issues. Today's topic is brand management. Today, Dr. Just will explore what it takes to manage your brand and how your brand will influence your credibility. This branding and marketing session will focus on what is a brand, how we frame marketing, pricing and its connection to our overall strategy, lowest pricing isn't always better, and communication channels to reach your market segment. About our speaker. Dr. Just spent over 2 decades working in a range of positions for various million and billion-dollar enterprises. In 2004, she launched a consulting practice that focuses on helping entrepreneurs and small business owners set strategic goals and devise action plans. She is an associate professor of leadership in the Peary School of Business at Rockford University, as well as the director of the degree completion programs offered in the evening. She has been teaching for over a dozen years, and most recently her teaching and research has been focused on entrepreneurship, generational differences in leadership. Renee holds a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology from Capella University, a Master's of Arts in industrial and organizational psychology from University of New Haven, and a Bachelor of Science in business administration from Albertus Magnus College. In addition to her current academic accomplishments, Dr. Just is pursuing another doctorate in ED from Vanderbilt University in Leadership and Learning Organizations and graduates in December of 2020. Before we get started, at the end of this presentation, Dr. Just will answer your questions. Please submit your questions through the chat box function. We will read those questions to Dr. Just at the end of her presentation. And now, with great pleasure, I would like to introduce Dr. Renee Just. Dr. Just?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit about branding, your personal brand and your organizational branding, and we're going to touch on the marketing, as Jared spoke of, and your pricing structure and what that might look like. So in a perfect world, a brand is a form to identify, be it you or your organization or your product or service. We really want it to elicit emotion. We want to be recognizable and for it really to make a statement. So let's start with a personal brand. And Jeff Bezos says that your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. So it's really that image that you...
Dr. Jeff, I hate to interrupt, but your screen is not showing up. I think you need to select the PowerPoint still.
Technical difficulty. Anna, on my end, it's showing as Microsoft PowerPoint.
Okay, hold on 1 second as we just troubleshoot. Oh, there we go.
It's there?
Yes, but I believe that you need to select just the slideshow presentation. There we go. Oh.
What are you seeing now?
I'm seeing your slides, but I'm seeing it as the presenter mode, not the. Perfect.
Excellent. There we go. It is roll with technology. So let's talk about our personal brand for a moment, if you will. So we all have a personal brand, and as you just saw from Jeff Bezos, it's what people say about us when we're not in the room, but it's also the visual that people get when they think of us. Whatever this is, that's the visual that they get. And your brand makes a statement about who you are, maybe what you like, maybe what your personality is like, and others make assumptions about us based on our brand. And our brand may change or shift as we grow. And we have a personal brand as well as a professional brand. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. We can call this brand one for me. And if this is the environment you know me in, you might think and get a visual of me of being adventurous, a risk taker, an animal advocate, an animal lover, maybe having free will. And I look pretty happy in these pictures. So that might be a visual that you would get of me if you know me personally. So let's flip that, and I have another brand. So my second brand, you might get a visual of me as professional, the ability to go to upscale engagements, active, maybe classy. So if this is the only way you know me is professional, this might be an image you get of me. And what we need to do is think of ourselves as a product. And we all have attitudes and beliefs. So some of the pictures that you saw of me on my brands, think about what kind of a statement do they make? Which ones look authentic? Which ones, because if you don't know me at all, you might not know if they're authentic. But we have an image, and people that know me professionally may not see and get that image of me personally. So why is your brand important? So it's important because it leaves a message, it leaves an image, it leaves a visual, it leaves potentially an emotion that we have elicited in somebody. So the emotion from my personal brand might be that I'm game for anything outdoorsy. And yes, I will tackle those class 5 rapids and whitewater rafting. Professionally, if you know me with those pictures that you saw, you might get a visual that I have the ability to dress up, and maybe I, in the business world, can talk to and communicate well with different levels at the C-suite. So it speaks to the range and the abilities that we have, and it allows us to differentiate ourselves from others, which in turn has an impact on our careers. So when you're thinking about your own personal brand, ask yourself, what makes you special? What makes you different? What makes you stand out? And not special as in better than, but what are your greatest strengths, and what's in your wheelhouse that you do really, really well, and how can you exhibit that? What are your accomplishments? And one of the last things is when somebody hears your name, what do you want to be known for? So our brands often come back to perception, and it's the perception that others have of us. And when you think about professional brands, it's also the perception that individuals have about your product or your service. So one way to kind of get some feedback is to talk to some trusted colleagues or friends professionally review your past performance reviews and start to kind of put it all together. So ways to strengthen your brand and really stand out from the crowd. Understand who your audience is and understand that chances are you have two brands. And what's the message you want to send to each audience? How does your current brand position you to achieve your goals? And evaluate what changes and adjustments that you might need to make. So how do we showcase our brands? How do we build them? How do we get the word out? Networking. And when we're even personally, even when we're speaking to our friends, we sometimes don't know who knows somebody else. Professionally, you may find yourself in situations often where you really don't know who you're talking to and what their full background is and what their resume is and who their connections are. One way to showcase really what you bring to the table, and remember, it's all about standing out and how do you differentiate yourself. So jump in and get involved in things that you don't know about. Integrate into some cross-functional projects, personal or professional. Use volunteering to get your brand out there. When you're volunteering, that is also one, you're volunteering, you're doing something good, but it's also a way for you to network and show what you bring to the table, hone and craft your skills. And in your volunteering, is there some kind of a leadership role that you can take on that makes sense, that builds to everything that you're trying to accomplish in your goals? So we're going to go back to this brand value slide. So when you hear brand value, because right now I'm going to kind of transition a little bit into a professional focus, just think about what brands come to mind for you personally as having value. And why do those brands have value for you? What is it about it? Is it something that they're different? Has it elicited a visceral emotion and reaction in you? And are there true benefits or are they perceived benefits? And ask yourself what's created the brand to hold this value for you. And as you go through your day and your evening and your week, kind of tuck that away and think about the brands that we use every day in our homes and our work environments, the clothes that we wear. Why is that? What was it about that brand that has you going to it? So organizationally, it's really important to understand branding and do it well. It builds product recognition. Today, the game is really about customer loyalty, because if you think about products and services on the market, there's more than one player in every industry. So the importance of branding is to gain that customer loyalty, because we can buy any number of cars, but is there a brand that you're loyal to? So branding, you also want to ensure consistency and quality in your product or service, and really capitalize on any exposure that you get, whether it's intentional or not intentional. There are different elements of brands, and some are a name. And it's a name that you hear and automatically you know what it is. You can say Bounty and know what that product is, and you don't have to explain that it's a roll of paper towels and give all the distinctive features about it. I can say Bounty and you already had an image in your head and you knew what that was. Another element is a brand mark. You already know that that's Starbucks. So the recognition in the mark is great because you can just have your logo up there. And when you reach that kind of brand recognition, that's superior. And that's what we all strive for. One, if somebody hears my name professionally, they might know what I bring to the table. When you see the golden arches, you know that it's McDonald's. So another element would be a trade name. We hear the word Disney and we know what it is, and we could know that it's animation, that it is the 101 Dalmatians, that it is the theme parks, but we know Disney as a trade name, and we have an image of the value of the organization and the quality of the product or service that they already deliver. And then there's characters. You can see the little Keebler elf and have the image of the cookies. And you might see Tony the Tiger and hear his, that's great, that he does with the Frosted Flakes. And the same with the Pillsbury Doughboy and the Jolly Green Giant. So this is exceptional branding when you have an image or a logo and the general population understand, and they have a visual. They have a visual of your organization. They understand your branding. They understand the products. They understand the quality. And you may be that go-to for that person. And finally, one of the last elements of branding is trademarks. And with the trademark name, it's legal protection that nobody else can take it. So there's chapstick, but there's also other versions and riffs of chapstick, but people can't call it chapstick. Burt's Bees can't say that it is Burt's Bees chapstick. They actually call it lip balm because chapstick is trademarked. So it forces people to pick other names. So when somebody thinks of chapstick, they're coming directly to your brand and they're not saying, oh, well, there are 20 different chapsticks made by different companies. There's not. So the positioning and defining the brand is very important. It expresses a functional and or benefits that satisfy the most important needs of target customers, and it really is your points of difference. And in a perfect world, and you see in the last line, it's customer's heart and mind. We really want to touch on the heart, and we want to create that emotion. So the value, and simply some of the value that a brand creates can be intangible, and the intangible value and the goodwill is often connected with that emotional reaction that we want. You might think of a brand as having superior performance, a higher valuation than other brands. And this is common when people think of name brand versus private label, that the name brand has a higher value, that it's a better product, and they go with that. And so here's an example of General Electric light bulbs. The GE logo is recognizable, it's easy to find, it stands out. And 9 out of 10 people pay 25% more for a GE light bulb over a generic because the brand is perceived by customers to have a better product than their competitors. When there are generic store brand light bulbs out there that are actually made by General Electric and are the same light bulb, but the perception is that it is better. So here's an example of that. An example of where brands have meaning. There was a blind taste test between Pepsi and Coke, and Pepsi and Coke have been rivals forever. And I know some of my friends are either Pepsi or they're Coke, and there's no, well, it doesn't matter, whatever's available. But the interesting thing was in the blind taste test, more people thought that Pepsi tasted better. When we did the open test in this instance, people said that Coke tasted better. That goes back to the brand loyalty, and it goes back to the perception that people have with brands. And that's why when we started out, I said about benefits, and even if they're perceived benefits, here it was perception that the Coke tasted better because they saw that red and white can. Another part of branding, and I mentioned it earlier, was the quality. People see the Rolex logo and they know instantly that there's going to be quality. Some would say the same about Bose. Your brand may not meet all of these, but know where you want to fit in with your brand, and that's where you go. If you want to be known as the superior performance and quality, then that's where you strive for. These are all just different elements of ways to get your brand out there, get it recognized, and creating some type of a response. So there's generic brands. So Wall Drill, for example, is Benadryl, but it's private label. Walgreens doesn't make Benadryl. It's private label and has their name, and it's the same product. Aldi, grocery store, carries generic brands. You can walk in and you can look at the packaging and you can make assumptions about what the branded product is, but they carry generic brands. Many instances, it is the same product as what you might go to Schnucks and buy, but it's under a private label and it's sold between 30 and 50% less than the well-known brands. So there's some different strategies that organizations employ when they think about branding. And we're extensions, licensing, and co-branding. And by that I mean, so Ocean Spray started with the classic cranberry, and then extensions of their brand went to the cran strawberry, the cran raspberry, the cran grape. So they're really extending their product, their brand name, and creating a line. Licensing is that the NFL has licensing agreements with Pepsi and Visa, and in return they get a royalty fee. So it's a way for Pepsi to say that they're have an agreement with the NFL. Sometimes you'll see a moving van, preferred moving van for the NFL or for NASCAR. Those are all licensing agreements. And co-branding, Pop-Tarts claims and co-brands with Smuckers in their Pop-Tarts. So these are just different ways that we can brand. Sometimes an organization will pick to do a complete rebranding. So if you look at Apple, of what their logo was in 1976 and look at what it is now and the iterations that it has gone through. So that's a rebranding of their logo. A partial rebrand is Gatorade and how they have opted to make the Gatorade much smaller and to have slogans on their bottle. So that was kind of some tweaking. It was not a total rebrand because they still have the Gatorade in there, as we're with the Apple in the very beginning. It's completely different. Then we have instances of a total rebrand. And this is really where you want to change the image of your organization. Rebranding can help change a business quality. It can help change their target market. It can help with new product lines. It can reposition them in the public image and really alter that image to the public if in fact their brand had been damaged. So we'll talk just for a couple of minutes about branding. So interesting, branding and marketing. And I'll just shoot right to the last point here, is that your marketing, the marketing people do, and the ads and the enticements may get you to buy a Toyota or any product, but it's the brand that will make the determination for you if in fact you are going to be a loyal Toyota customer. So marketing is what draws us in. It's the brand. Is it that superior quality? Does it run better? Does you perceive it as being more reliable? It's that that's going to get you to make that decision to buy Toyotas or whatever vehicle if you have an affinity for one. So when we're marketing, there's some different philosophies that we take to get the word out. So some really focus on the production efficiencies over other activities. Other philosophies are truly sales driven, and it's sales over production. The best of both worlds is when we begin with the end in mind, which is the customers, and we integrate both approaches. So here's a couple of examples of strategies and objectives. So if an ad agency is looking to increase their retention rate from 50 to 75%, what they might do, and so that's their objective. So now it's what we're going to do. And it's establishing a top-to-top program where we match the senior executives up with the top tier of our clients. And then we create quarterly reviews. Two other strategies. Fashion retailer, they're looking to increase their ticket, their average transaction. So we see this a lot where there's a matching item recommendation program. And so in that matching, maybe it's buy one, get one half off. That's how they go from the 48 to 75. Buy two, get one free, buy one, get one half off. That's how they're doing it. And baseball, they're looking to create more ticket purchases. And baseball is a limited season. So what do we do is in the off season, we have different FanFest programs, on-site or digital events, and holiday initiatives. So a lot of the institutions are getting creative with everybody, the Black Friday, Cyber Monday craze. It's not just for retailers anymore. So with all this, we have to know if we're effective. So it's great to have all of the strategies and implement them and try to increase our ticket and try to do the buy one, get one frees, creating different events. But we also have to measure the effectiveness. We have to understand how it's going to work. Then we roll it out, and then we have to go back and look at, did it work? And what worked, what didn't work? And whatever worked, how do we get more of that? And in the next iteration, we incorporate the how do we get more of that? And the marketing effectiveness plan is a living, breathing plan and a living, breathing document. So every time you make an adjustment, you then can go back to say, okay, great, this worked better this time. Why? What was in play? How do we get more of that? And we continue to come full circle with our analysis, making sure that we're always measuring the effectiveness of our efforts and understanding why they're working or why they are not working. So it's great. We come up with wonderful plans and we start looking at our brand and we understand what our goal is. And we're coming up with our messaging. So we have to integrate all of this. And the integration comes with the product, price, placing, and promotion. And that's a key factor in marketing. It's called the 4 Ps. So let's just look at that. So In the bottom right, you see this cohesive marketing program, and that's where all the pieces fit together. So in the mix, some of the things that we want to market are the product. Do we want to focus on the features, the name? We have to have attractive packaging. Packaging is really important because if you have something on the shelf or you're advertising and people don't understand it, they're going to pass it up. Do we need to offer a discount? How are we promoting this? And what are the outlets that we're doing this? What are our sales channels? So pricing is not always coming in with a lower price is not necessarily the right answer. It's really understanding who your target market is and what kind of expendable cash do they have. So if you're marketing to the baby boomer category, they're going to have more expendable cash than Gen X. And it's really understanding who you're looking at and who you're targeting here for your pricing, because what you don't want to do is underprice your offering. Once you underprice it, it can be really difficult to raise the price later. Pricing captures value, but your branding efforts really help you drive that value home. So it doesn't necessarily mean, again, that your price has to be the lowest. And this kind of builds on what I was just talking about with understanding the baby boomers versus Gen X and who has expendable cash. So if the optimal pricing strategy is value-based, then communicating that value to the customer and rationalize the price being charged is critical. So if your price is higher, you're not going to focus on that. You're really going to focus on the value. Your price messaging might include the value, communication, psychological benefits, and drive home and try to elicit in your pricing and in your messaging how you're going to get that emotional response that you were looking for. So different ways that we get the word out is your own website. There's a lot of products and services people don't go to the actual brand website for, but it's one of those things that we need to have. So other types of digital ads would include banner displays. Look then on that with your banner displays, you want to measure the cost per metric, and also measure how many people are clicking through your website. Some of the social medias. So social media has allowed us now to do what people wanted to do 30 years ago, which was really talk to and talk with the consumers. And you can get instant real-time feedback with consumers by using social media as a marketing tool. And this is fabulous because it gives you real-time feedback on your branding, how you're getting the messaging out, and if your message is reaching the right segmentation. So the mobile space, this is huge, and it also goes back to what I was just showing you with the social media. There are some apps that you can download, and when you walk into a store, pop-ups will appear on your phone. And if you have that type of a product, that's a great way for mobile marketing. And that comes in with the geo tracking or in-store targeting. When you come in the store is going to push advertisements to you. And these are just a couple of different ways that you can market your brand and market your product and service. So we touched on branding. We touched on your personal branding and how important that is. We touched on branding as an organization and a little bit about your marketing mix and the integration of that. So I want to thank you for coming today. And that's another part of my personal brand.
Well, it looks like a very, very adventurous personal brand.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Just, for a great presentation today. It's always fascinating to learn more about marketing and branding. And your presentation today certainly did allow for that. We have a few questions here we'd like to go through in our remaining minutes. I'll just fire away. So please, the first question comes in. It says, with the quest to be authentic, how does having different, quote, brands of ourselves impact authenticity?
Great question.
Yes.
Yes. So my personal brand is very authentic to who I am, as is my professional brand. Many of us do not have the luxury of being WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get all the time. So what you see is what you get with me, in the fact that I am honest and I am outspoken, and I will, without solicitation, share my opinions. However, in my personal brand, I act differently than I do in my professional brand. In that, when I'm talking to a CEO or a senior vice president, or I'm networking, I don't necessarily show up with my patchwork jeans and a buff around my neck like I'm getting ready to go out hiking. And I also pull different parts of my vocabulary. So all of that is true. And it is all authentic. But again, we don't have the luxury to only act one way.
Thank you. Next question. My company relies on face-to-face branding and marketing. It is not the only way we market, but it is a big part. Do you have suggestions to help support the branding and marketing we are losing with the pandemic?
Wow, that's a loaded question, and truthfully, we could do an entire session on that. The pandemic is changing how everybody is doing business. It's here at Rockford University, it is changing how we deliver information and interact with our students. It's forcing us, and what I can say is, teaching on campus is face-to-face, but we've had to alter how we do that. And if you offer webinars, if you offer brown bag lunches, do Zoom with your clients, come up with different formats that you can still communicate with them as much as you can, because you are face-to-face. Any format that allows you to see your customers, or your customers to see you, so that you can maintain that connection, is going to be important for you. And without knowing what your product or your service is, right now that's as far as I can go. But feel free to contact me. I know that my contact information is available, and feel free to shoot me an email, and I'm happy to have a conversation.
Thank you. I do. Yes, I think that's one of the problems that a lot of companies are facing, is how to do something completely different. So next question we have, what are some pitfalls to avoid when rebranding?
So one of the pitfalls to consider is, when you're rebranding, it's going to be really important to understand why you are rebranding. So when I showed the Martha Stewart brand, after she did her prison stint, it was really important for her to rebrand. So one, understand why you are rebranding. And two, when you are rebranding, keep your focus and have a clear understanding of your goals and the demographic that you are now trying to reach. Some rebrand with the intent of reaching a different demographic. Some rebrand to change their image, and some adjust branding based on product. So it's really important to understand what your ultimate goal is and keep a clear focus on your customer segment.
Thank you. Here we have one last question. I like this question. Would you recommend creating a tagline for a personal or individual brand? What are your thoughts on a logo for a personal brand? 2 questions.
So absolutely. So if you took my personal one, you could hashtag outdoor girl. You could hashtag hiking. You could hashtag a lot of things. So the last picture I ended on was a couple of years, a group and I who hike a lot together. That last picture was in Israel. We actually took 10 days and went hiking through Israel. So I could do hashtag @Israel. Some people have a blog for personal branding, and that's a great way to get out there who you are. So I absolutely think that doing some kind of electronic format for a personal brand is a really cool idea.
Very good. Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Just, for an excellent presentation. Your strategies to help us understand what brand marketing management is and how we can apply the mentioned techniques to our daily work and life. We all greatly appreciate your time and expertise. We're very fortunate to have you and the resources of Rockford University available to us all. Thank you all. Thank you to all that attended. We hope you found value in today's presentation and you can take what you have learned here today with you back to your workplace. I just wanted to mention a little housekeeping. We have more webinars coming forward. We have started a new webinar series. It is the RAEDC's. It's a webinar series that will focus on introducing or reintroducing the RAEDC, your Economic Development Council, moving our region forward. December 15th, we have the Rockford Area Aerospace Network and B2B with myself, Jared Funderburg. January 12th, we have the Care Solutions team, the company attraction, retention, and expansion, and a project update with Mr. Jerry Sagona. December 17th, we will have our 8th Ed Talks. We will focus this on growing connections with Dr. Just. That may change. Please stay tuned. More great things will happen. And for more information on these webinars and other RAEDC resources, please visit the Rockford Area Economic Development Council website. And please do not hesitate to reach out to Dr. Renee Just at Rockford University for additional support and resources. We have a powerhouse of a university right here at our region center point, and it is a great pleasure to work closely with them. Again, thank you all for attending today's presentation. Please have a safe and happy holiday next week, and take care, be with your loved ones, and have a great and wonderful rest of your week. Thank you.